In this video, we're going to be talking with Josh Gettman, the VP of Operations of NeuroGym. We here at TriPub have been working with NeuroGym for almost really 16 to 17 months now, and they've been a phenomenal client of ours. We started with taking their My NeuroGym site, which actually had all of their learning management inside of this, but ironically, they didn't have a learning management system. They were using Membarium to actually drive content restriction, content access for their members, and it really wasn't the experience they needed. TriPub is all about creating a platform unified business. And John and NeuroGym and Josh and his staff wanted to unify their business. They wanted to get off of Facebook as their primary social space. They wanted to get out of just a traditional content restricted membership site, get into an LMS, and they saw Buddy Boss and wanted to get into social. And then they saw gamification and GamiPress, wanted to get that into that as well. And so we moved them just from simply a login and a simple membership site to all the way over to a Buddy Boss platform with a very active community now of almost, 13,000 members or so over the past 12 or so months that we've been live on this platform. They've created their own custom look and feel of how they actually roll out their programs, because their programs are bundles of courses and community and events and replays and bonuses. So when you go into a program, you have the course access, the program content, the upcoming events, recording replays, community, bonus materials, facts, just they have a little bit of everything going on inside of this. And John has just been a phenomenal influencer in the community. What we've done with NeuroGym over the years, and you'll hear Josh talk about that, is create phenomenal support and phenomenal. And this is just a master planning document. We have we're into the hundreds, probably 1,000 pages worth of documentation for them. We had our first sprint in April of 2021 where we did architecture and design. Sprint 2, we moved into actually the build and building the platform and getting it ready to go. Then came Sprint 3, the finalize and transition sprint, where we populated all the courses. We created the new workbooks. We began to move people over. We worked on the gamification. We moved in Sprint 3, some bonus content that they wanted in there kind of last minute. And then we transitioned and populated all of the users, the tags, the data, and all of that. And you'll hear Josh and I talk a little bit about that. We then moved into the Buddy Boss app, actually automating and creating more CM integration. We actually integrated with Groundhog as a local CRM in conjunction with Infusionsoft as their primary mouth of funnel CRM, and then Groundhog was a platform fulfillment CRM. We've completed all that, and right now we're right in the middle of Sprint 4, which is the Salesforce transition, as they transition from Infusionsoft to Salesforce. Then we move on to reporting and documentation and going much deeper in the reporting and documentation, enhanced engagement, and then ultimately research and validation of some of the neuroscience that John does. And so this is just actually the hub document that covers what we've done in these different phases and different aspects of it. Each one of these actually link out to their own Google document and planning. When you're building a platform of this scale that's doing so much with so many people, you really have to have very strong planning, very strong diagramming, very strong process orientation. If you don't have that, then you're going to go off the rails. Not only is the launch going to go bad, but the continued support, the continued growth. We've had to go into different things where we've moved them into AWS. We've really had to work on their optimization as they've grown. We've had to do a whole lot of different things for them over the years. And it's just really been a function of really good documentation, really good communication as we go through this process, as well as, we create, Gantt charts and swim lanes and how we're rolling things out and how the teams are interacting with one another. We make sure that we flow chart everything out and we understand the interdependencies between the CRM, the user experience, and what's happening all the way through. So this has been an absolutely phenomenal project for us to work on. We've really enjoyed all of the documentation, working with the team, and really taking them from a basic membership site into an extremely complex membership site that offers a lot of value to the members and really delivers on the brand promise that John and his team put out there. So I hope you enjoy the video here in our time with Josh, and as he shares a little bit about his experience in working with TriPub and the NeuroGym experience. All right, Josh, thanks so much for jumping on a quick Zoom with me. It's been a pleasure working with you guys at NeuroGym. We've been working together, 16 months now or something crazy. It was like April 2021, something like that.
It does feel like a while.
We have been down the road, many a journey in 16 months getting things done. Let's start off with, if you don't mind, just share how we met on Upwork. I know you looked through multiple contractors and somehow you decided on us. I'd like to learn more about that.
Absolutely. It actually initially started with our evaluation of different LMS platforms in order to deliver our content. And so as we went through that process and really narrowed in on BuddyBoss and some other aspects of using WordPress as a platform so that we can customize, then we started figuring out, well, who's going to help us get this implementation done? Who's going to have knowledge around the tools and all of the other aspects of deploying and migrating off of our homegrown system into this new environment. And so we went through and interviewed a lot of people, first via LinkedIn, we put in an ad, and then finally we went to Upwork because we were not getting the responses that made us feel comfortable. And we did a couple trials with some individuals there, and they just didn't meet our expectations. They didn't have the knowledge that they needed. So we ran across you, and you had what seemed to be every single aspect of what we were looking for. The idea of some level of design knowledge, definitely infrastructure knowledge, but more importantly, you had an understanding of what this means for clients and the things that we need to track in order to ensure that they have the best experience and that the tools align to exactly what we're trying to do from delivering these products. So that's really how we came to be on Upwork. It was a little bit of a long process for us, but you were a unicorn. The first one that we've ever run into that gave us the full breadth of experience, knowledge, and strategy that we needed.
Josh, thanks for that. That was awesome. I mean, I love meeting people on Upwork, and you guys have been just one of our top clients out there and just had so much fun working with you. I know one of your big requirements was really good documentation. Josh, you're big into documentation, flowcharts, scope documents, all of that. And we spent the first couple of months just really laying out a solid plan. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, once we did the initial onboarding and knew that you guys were going to be the vendor, that process, the nice part is you guys drove it. So I am not an individual who has a lot of knowledge around what is necessary when you're setting up a platform that's supposed to deliver these online contents and all the different options. So what I enjoyed was going through a methodology to have an understanding of what we're trying to pursue and how we're going to do that. But the questions were really on point, and then the documentation from the flowcharts to the spreadsheets that we filled out and the Google Docs to clearly understand exactly what we're accomplishing really helped frame what this experience was going to be like and all the little things that we hadn't considered or options that we should keep in mind as we were starting a rollout. So it just gave a level of confidence that this thing was going to get done, that there was a clear understanding around what we're trying to accomplish within our programs, a clear understanding of what is necessary in order to get those outcomes on the new platform, and then the strategy of implementation that was prioritized based on truly a test case scenario, like what's the big one? And for us, it was obviously winning the game of money. And since then, it's something that we've relied on in order to understand our decision process. So I know that every once in a while, someone can ask a question about, so what did you consider? And I can go back and anchor into those docs and say, this is how we thought this through.
That's really great. And one of the things, once we kind of got it all documented, that really took us through a big chunk of the summer. And then we started moving into midsummer, July, August, heading into a big launch. Your big launch is usually like in the fall, with your big event. And we were not only looking at transitioning from just a static WordPress site that had Memberium driving content, we moved to a full BuddyBoss, LearnDash, GamiPress enabled platform, retooled pretty much all the courses to some degree, obviously putting them in the new LMS, those types of things, redoing the workbooks, doing those types of things. And then the big kahuna, which was getting all the data and all the contacts seamlessly integrated from Infusionsoft and Memberium on the old site to transitioning and populating well. And we were able to kind of pull that off. Tell me a little bit about that experience as we moved into those weeks into launch timeframe. I know we were all kind of biting our nails a little bit, but it went off pretty smooth.
I don't know how to frame exactly what that experience was for everyone, but this is what I do know, is that the migration was successful. because my counterpart, Courtney, obviously took on a brunt of the conversation, but I really didn't think about a lot of things. Mm-hmm. So when we were talking about heavy lifting and what was necessary and how we had strategies, we had all the strategy calls, but your team took care of practically everything. There were little things that we had to do as far as changing within Infusionsoft, but that was the best part of this, is that we had the strategies, we implemented it, and then those processes were done with you and your team, and I didn't have to sit there and worry about, good heavens, did this all work okay? Did I get this done? Should I be doing something more? And I know that was something that we just did not have the capability to do. It was really reliant on a partner to say, okay, great, we'll do this. And then we came up with the strategies in Infusionsoft which allowed us to update the clients so that then they could have access. So then in the future, when other things went right or wrong, customer service could have it. So I believe there was a level of insight that went into, how do I support this moving forward? Because there's probably going to be little things that we're going to run to, which we did. And with each one, even after launch, it was a matter of, okay, great, provide all the assets, give a clear understanding, meet to make sure we have the right approach in mind, and then we move forward. And every time, it was never a question of, gee, I wonder if they're going to be able to accomplish that. Gee, I hope we're going to be able to do this. How are we ever going to get this done in timeline? You and the team just always stepped in and said, I understand it, I get it, and then we implemented. And I did not feel as if I was left in the dust, even when we had maybe more complicated issues or large bits of programs that nobody knew. So it was just never a matter of, I'm alone and doing this by myself and there's a place where we're going to end. The questions were all fielded through you guys, and I always felt well supported. And it's why the partnership continues today, because there's just no need for me to bring anyone else in. The stuff that I pursue and the way that we need to get it done gets done. And if there are issues, you've been a great partner to address those, whether it's hardware, software, system, organization, new design. I mean, it's just the full gambit of everything you could ever possibly want in a partner.
Well, thank you. One of the areas when we were doing that transition, I think that was the most complicated. It wasn't just bringing the data over. We wanted to bring over just the members that actually were active. So we set up this Infusionsoft Membarium routine, because you have, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of contacts and users over the years. We only wanted to bring people into a new platform that were active. So we set up an Infusionsoft Membarium process that was basically an intelligent process that when they actually responded, transition from the old platform to the new platform, not only did it only bring over the data necessary, there was a lot of tracking data that you guys had, like their progress through intersizing and other things that we had to create the equivalent data point, in GamiPress and in the LearnDash system, as far as their course progress, in GamiPress, as far as their intersize tracking and all of that. So that was actually one of my favorite parts of it, because that was a pretty complicated data sync process. That happened real time when they clicked on the link that you sent out. So that one was the one that made me the most nervous, but it went off pretty well.
For me, it's magic. I put in a number and click save.
Well, it was awesome. Well, we went through that launch and that was pretty successful. And then we started moving over to the BuddyBoss app, which has been, I think, a big hit for your audience, because a lot of people, want to learn, they want to engage on the app platform. So I think that's gone pretty smooth. And really kind of the app, and then needing to scale away, because you've got such a large community, scaling away from Cloudways and DigitalOcean to AWS, and really tackling the problem of growth, both in the speed of the app and the speed of the site. And there was quite a bit of stuff we had to do there as well. What's your experience in us being able to handle and bring on the right team members and resources to handle, the scale up process after the launch process?
When it comes to scaling up and really creating a bulletproof members portal, we can start first with the app. But that was one thing with BuddyBoss that we were super excited about. The idea that we could make material changes on our members portal, they get reflected into the app. Individuals can watch it on net time, and this allows them a different way of delivery instead of just on the web, which is what we had prior. So with each iteration, we get better and better. I know that BuddyBoss is learning more. So the community aspect of that is really our desire to move off of Facebook completely. And we're nearly there. And you and the team have done remarkable at optimizing as best we possibly can anything that we could within the server or within the configuration of the designs in order to meet those outcomes. So again, it's a partnership when we're having conversations and figuring out how this is going to best work for our clients. When it comes to the scaling of the server and the last really, I guess, 10 months of going through that process, this is another one where lack of knowledge of all the different things that play out on a WordPress site can really hurt you. And that's where you guys brought insight. This is what your space is all about. So even though you didn't have the relevant experience maybe to support the server, and that's why you suggested and we brought in Gareth, the reality is that the partnership to get the right tools, the partnership to get the right configuration, the partnership when we have issues, whether that is hardware or software based, to collaborate with the individual in IT and make sure that they have what they need has been terrific. And I am a slow burn person, so I'm not a big fan of quick fixes. I never want to circle back to it. And that is, I think, another good outcome of this relationship is that there's a clear understanding of what my needs are and an urgency around it. But that urgency doesn't push us to make decisions that mean we're going to repeat the same problem. So we've always gone to the root causes, found those problems, figured out what we should do and how we should do it, and then because of those experiences, made adjustments in how we'd like things configured, how we'd like testing to go, and some of the other aspects. It truly is a relationship that is more aligned with, I have this staff and team in my organization and I utilize them in order to meet these outcomes with our members portal, and I don't really treat them like a contractor in that they aren't. They're kind of integrated into our organization. They're a part and parcel of the support that we provide to our client base, and they're a resource I can rely on when I have issues to help troubleshoot, identify, and resolve them long term.
That's really great. And now we're in this kind of next phase of our relationship where we're moving from Infusionsoft as the primary CRM to Salesforce, which is a pretty significant move in relationships, tags, access, content restriction, on and on and on, access and revoke. And, we've had to bring in some consultants and really help make that transition as well. I've never really worked with Salesforce before, where you've been, Salesforce has been the primary tool in other organizations you've served. So not a lot to talk about there other than we're just right on the eve of that right now, and making that transition. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, yeah, but even with the Salesforce integration, it goes back to the comment stated about like bringing in the right resources with Gareth and IT. We knew DigitalOcean was going to be a problem. I think initially we just didn't know to what level. And really when it came right down to content delivered across multiple platforms in multiple countries, it really became very clear that we could not deliver the content that we have through a single server and DigitalOcean. That just wasn't going to work. And so Gareth was able to split that out. And then much like with the integration with Salesforce, you're talking about a partnership where we have conversations, we figure it out, we seek to have understanding on both sides. And when we come up with a solution, we have, this is what Salesforce can do, and this is where its core competencies lies. Great. This is everything that Buddy Boss is going to need through WordPress, and this is how we're going to do this, and here are all of our solutions. So it goes back to this is a long-term relationship. It is meant to be sustainable, and it's meant to collaborate in a way that we put in really, really strong integrations, really, really strong products, so that we don't have to continually circle back. So even then, you're bringing in resources that have closely aligned to what our outcomes are, that seek to have an understanding and create a solution, much like what we're doing with Salesforce, that is right in line with what we need for our business. And that would not have happened without your material influence.
Josh, tell me a little bit about you. I've so much enjoyed working with you. You've played such a pivotal role at NeuroGym, and I've really noticed the depth and breadth, not just technology, but team management, process management. You're very detail oriented, and I'd love to share a little bit about, how you came here and the role that you have with NeuroGym.
Oh, yeah. I'm the VP of operations for NeuroGym. I come from about 12 or 13 years of experience working within the personal development industry through other individuals. My path in life has been varied, starting off with accounting, going into mergers and acquisitions, corporate development, Then I did a stint in consulting. It was all over the place, but really it anchored into my love of operations. And that has outcomes based in the fulfillment in our clients, and then it has outcomes based on how our culture is going to run as an organization. So my approach and my knowledge is always based off of this is a tool meant to reach an outcome, and how do I align this in such a way that people's day-to-day activities produce whatever necessary outcome we need in order to make sure that the tool does what it needs to do. So not having too much to do manually is always where I go, and making it very simplistic and easy to use is always at top of mind. So when it came to the idea of moving over to a new members portal, there was just a lot of things that I wanted to do in order to keep ownership into certain spaces and make sure that the flexibility needed in order to engage our clients who are going through their programs wasn't reliant on huge integrations with other systems, that we could really take an approach that says, what does each system do well? What does it do not so great? And figure out how to best construct each one of them. And so having those conversations with the team has been great. But my experience really is the fact that technology supports. It's meant to support. It's meant to support your clients. It's meant to support your internal team. And so let's just make sure that when we're putting this all together, it all flows the right way, and that we're not putting in huge roadblocks or weird barriers based on a personal preference. So working with you guys, I've never felt like I had to make a choice one way or the other. It was, the pros and cons, and then we make a good decision. So working with Kyle and the TriPub team has been one of the most entertaining experiences of my life, because we are part and parcel of a personal development world. And I have a very active personality, and so does everyone in the TriPub arena. And the thing that made this project fun and made working with the team very much a thing I look forward to was the fact that we were doing hard work. We were doing very complicated things. We were re-architecting an entire infrastructure and moving into a platform we had no knowledge about. But at no point did I ever have a level of fear that this couldn't be accomplished. There was never a point that stress and some of the other things during a migration came up and then derailed us from our ultimate goal. And my personality and the personality of the team members gelled so well that it really became an extensible part of the organization. For Kyle and the team to have that, you know one thing about them, that they care enough. And there is no level of expertise that I can hire when someone doesn't care about the outcome and the success and the things that you're trying to do. If they can't see that within their heart, it seems weird, but they're not going to meet the outcome, because what we're pushing forth doesn't align into widget sending. This is talking to other people and helping them fulfill aspects of themselves that are very untangible. So it was really critical in choosing a partner that we have someone that totally gets the unique nature of working with systems that are delivering on the promise that individuals can work on themselves. And if they don't get to know you, they don't get to know your personalities. If you don't get to know the personalities of your team and jive well, then the outcome, in my opinion, just doesn't get there at that same level. So truly having the combination of the technical know-how and then a desire to make the brand look good and to deliver well for our clients and understand what our product is, both of those have made this relationship hugely successful. And it's one of the things I count as one of my strongest successes at NeuroGym.